How about yourself? How y'all doing?
We're doing good,
You know,
doing
first
good.
you realize who you talking to, right? You talking to the future fantasy football champion, King Brew, right? That's
Oh,
Oh, really?
what
here we go.
I started to change my name to that, but then I didn't want to disrespect the show. So
Your name
Man,
could be
salute,
whatever.
brother.
Your name could be wherever you want it to be. You see, Sean changed his middle name to Peacock.
yeah, I noticed that. I was watching the stream a little bit beforehand, and shout out to him.
Oh man, what up, Hank?
Shout out to him for being brave like that.
So we're talking about how often you should speak with your significant other throughout the day when you're not with them. I played a video. Did you see the video that I played?
Yes, I caught that. I caught that. That was funny.
Yes.
So
So, she was pretty much saying, "Hey, I think it's sexy when I don't hear from a man all day. I want him to be busy. I don't want him to text me. I'm okay if he doesn't." And the translation pretty much was saying that she wants to be single, but she wants the benefit of being in a relationship. So my question was, how many times should you hear from your significant other when you're not around each other? What do you think is a good number? I know Quincy in the chat has said 12. He want, on an hour, every hour. He want to FaceTime to make sure it's real. What do you think, Hank?
um, yeah, I don't talk a lot. I don't do a lot of texting anyway. That's really not my thing. As far as phone calls, I don't really take too many phone calls at work unless it's dire need. So I wouldn't do it there.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, if you get 4 hours of conversation out of a man in a week, you got a lot of conversation from him. Because most men don't talk a lot. It's just we don't. We are better listeners than we are
Mhm.
communicators. The reason why we communicate because that's what our lady expects of us, and so we try to
Mhm.
accommodate.
Mhm.
So I don't know, maybe twice a day. I think that's a good number for me.
Mhm.
My opinion.
Twice a day. Okay. All righty. So, uh, as a woman, um, I think it would just have to depend on, you know, the man and the woman, like King was saying, how you guys communicate about your, excuse me, communication styles. Because I don't think that you should talk all day. I don't want to talk to anybody all day. I mean, I talk all day for work, honestly. So sometimes I just want to throw my phone over the balcony. There are days where I don't answer my phone. There are days where will not text you back. Like I'm that kind of person. But I think when it comes to relationships, you definitely should have the conversation on how often or what the communication style is between you two. Because if you know the communication style between you two, then you won't expect something outside of that. So if you know you're with someone that is not someone that's going to be communicating all day, then you can't, get mad when you don't hear from them all day. That's just not their communication style. And if you do need more communication from them, then you just have to make it known. I think that's in a committed relationship. If you're not in a committed relationship with somebody, I think that whenever you guys talk is whenever you talk because you haven't communicated when you wanted to talk and when you want that communication from them. So I would you say twice, Hank and King, you say pretty much whatever the communication style is between you two, right? So
hmm
I'm not quite sure what's going on with Sean. I'm gonna kick him from the studio because it was off. He was like offline anyway. So maybe he comes back in. I'm gonna drop the link again because I didn't post it for anyone who does want to join the show. We're about to get into the second clip, and the second clip is actually we're kind of diving into a little bit of what we were just talking about um in communication styles with men and women. So we're gonna get to the second clip.
Your partner feels the closest to you, not when you make love to her. It's not when she feels that might be when you feel the closest to her. That's not when she feels the closest to you. She feels the closest to you when, in the words of Marvin Gaye, she knows what's going on. When she knows what's going on with you emotionally, your feelings, your emotions. A healthy relationship is when both partners are fully known, are fully known.
All right. So I have two questions for you guys. When do you feel closest to your woman? Because he said, guys may feel close to their women when they're having sex, but women are feel close to you guys when we know what's going on. When we know the plan per se. We don't got to know the full plan, but when we know the direction, I should say. So when do you guys feel closest to your woman?
Ooh, when she doesn't have to know. Honestly, to me, the physical part isn't when I feel closest to my lady. It's when she don't have to wonder what's going on with me. Because on the flip side of that, I'm not trying to explain myself. Have to really answer to anybody like that, because she should know, or at least ask questions to where I can communicate it with her. If she's constantly having to figure out what it is, to me, like, that's exhausting. That means that I haven't maybe communicated anything to her. So when she doesn't have to know what's going on with me, like or at least she understands, how do I say this, how this train is going, then that's when I feel closest to someone, because I've shared that with her, so she understands what the goal is, what the direction is, and is making a choice to ride that train or hop off.
Okay. So pretty much when she's in understanding of the direction that you guys are going, you feel closest to her.
Yes.
Got you. Okay. Welcome to the show, R Pain. How are you?
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How you doing, gentlemen? Hey, listen. So, you want me to answer the question?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, this second question. First of all, I think women feel closest to men while they're having sex, and that's why that energy that men transfer to them can damage you if it's not the right guy. That's why I got so many women out here mad because they feel that what it, what that hormone is that they release. So the more men they have, the more damage they have. So I think they do, and it could dissipate if the guy ain't no good. But I think most women, when they have sex, that's when that energy transfer from a man to a woman makes them feel some kind of way. I always tell guys, woman invites you back more than once, you kind of own it. You kind of own it, you know. And the men, we feel closer to our women where we could actually trust them to respect us, to be loyal to us, and to be exclusive with us when they build up that trust in you afterwards. Because post nut clarity is what a woman doesn't understand. She needs to get a man to. Because that's why some women want to wait 90 days because they think the longer you wait for the guys they like, then he's going to build up something to like it. That's not how men operate. It could be the first night, could be the second night, could be 2 weeks. It's the post nut clarity, excuse the term, that when
You're
a
fine.
man really loves a woman and likes a woman, that's when he comes back, even after he has sex with her. He still wants to call. He still wants to give her flowers. He still wants to build a relationship. And I think that's what that means. So, I mean, I'm not saying every woman gets close to men like that, because these days women are bouncing from man to man. But, I'm an old head. So back in the day, if you had sex with a woman, that meant something to her big time. And it still does to a lot of women today. We just don't hear enough from them. So let me just land that right there. That's my opinion on that.
Sean over there shaking his head. Don't run. Don't run. Don't be running.
I'm not. What I was saying is, no, it doesn't always mean something to a woman, and the same attachment that you was referring to, men get as well. and to sit there and deny it is part of our problem. We don't always, we're not always in tune with that.
Okay.
World Class said women feel closest to us when they're strangled and in bondage a little bit.
Aha, we see where that their mind is. No, but in all seriousness, to answer the original question, how many times, that really is determined on the person. King, I gotta salute you on how you are leading your relationship through the communication that you're having, and even taking the time to consider what your partner would like before you go on what you feel and what you like, because that's part of a relationship, and getting out of your singleness is actually
Mhm.
considering someone else. So salute to you on that. And yeah, I agree with you. Once you have that point of once you have her, you own her. I wouldn't say those words, but I understand that concept. Women don't like to hear those words. It's probably why I don't say it, but there's some truth to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pink, when do you feel closest, or when do m- I mean, you can make it personal if you like, but when do men feel closest to women?
Um, Jeez. Well, as far as me, besides sex, you know, I guess when I guess what our pain was saying was when I can trust and I can believe in her is when I feel the closest. When I can be vulnerable with her is another opportunity when I feel the closest with her.
Mhm.
And as long as I know she can hold water, she got a chance. But if she show me she can't hold no water in that cup, yeah, that screws it up. But yeah, I feel like when I'm able to be honest and vulnerable and truthful with her, yeah, that lets me know I I'm probably at my closest with a woman.
Okay. Now, is that the
Wow.
same as Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was saying I didn't hear that question. I was getting phone calls. But when are you closest to a woman?
Mhm. When do you feel closest to a woman?
Oh, when a peacock arrives at your at your window after having sex.
Is that a
Jesus
service animal? Yeah.
Christ.
That's
Not the
exactly when I
peacock.
feel closest. Yo, that peacock king, I was like, oh my God, I want to marry you. Yeah, that's it.
I
Well,
think
I
he
hear you,
has.
brother.
I think he's making sense in the video when he says that women do feel closest when they know what's going on. Because we as women, our thoughts are all over the place. They're going a mile a minute. I think we do feel closest to you when, we can relax our thoughts, when we can relax our mind, and we don't necessarily have to worry about certain things. So I believe it's when, a man can be a great leader where, we're not really stressing about things. We're not worrying about them. We're not questioning things over and over and over again. I was gonna ask you guys, when you feel closest to your woman, is that when you are known by your woman too? Is that the same thing? Being
Can
the
I, let
close
me let
being
me
close to her.
let
Mhm.
me let me take that up. See, I think a woman when she knows you, like you said, I agree with that. But that's after you show her that you ain't going nowhere,
Mhm.
right? So that's different than an actual sexual act. When you trust
Right.
her and you pour into your lady and she's serious about you, I think that's when they get close to you. They could trust you, they could talk to you and all that. So trust goes both ways.
Mhm.
So when this guy comes, the guy in the video says it's not when it's sex. I disagree with that. I think in the beginning, most women, I say most, a lot of women still get that connection when they have sex with a guy, and he either gonna affirm that sex or he's gonna treat her like he treats every other guy. And I disagree with Sean. Men get up and pull their pants up from women all the time. Men have sex with women they don't even like. all the time.
Mhm.
So I don't think men have that same kind of hormonal transfer, right? When they have sex, some do, but not most guys. A woman has to, a man has to feel that that's his woman to actually get to trust her and all that stuff, and that takes time over. That takes over time. But I think
Mhm.
women, they give you. First of all, they give most women. I think this is me. You're a woman, so you can tell me. I think when a woman has sex with you, and she's like a woman who's somewhat uh, protective of her virtue, her just giving you sex is an affirmation that she likes you to begin with. For
Yeah,
a lot
because
of
she'll
women,
start to question how much she should give you.
that's right.
Like
So,
she's gonna
so, so,
question, like, should I continue
so
to sleep with this man or not? Because I
that's going to be
like
based
him,
on what you
so
ask
I'm
for.
not gonna yeah, I'm not gonna continue to do this if we're not going to be exclusive. I'm not gonna continue to, continue to give this to him because we know that again, like you were saying, our pain, that is a closeness for us. Um, so,
I,
you
I
definitely
think
should
that's in my experience. So I
that's
didn't
why
mean
women
to.
should definitely guard it, accordingly because, you don't want to be caught up and the person that you're having sex with don't want to be with you long term. And a guy, he's not going to say, I want to be with you. I don't want to be with you if he's not really being serious. So I think women need to realize that's why it takes a lot of women a long time to let these men go because they digmatize. We talked about this before. They be so digmatized. The red flags just flagging, one flag, two flags, down to seven flags, and they can't let the man go because the sex is just so good, and I don't know if I'm gonna get this again, and I don't know who I'm gonna get it from again. Like, and women need to realize that if he not trying to be serious with you, there's no reason to be having sex with him at all whatsoever.
So I,
No
I mean,
reason.
just say this, and I'll move on. I just think that's why we have so many women who are traumatized. I mean, these YouTube spaces prove that to me. About the men who leave them with kids and they're gone, and how women need to go from one guy, even when they have young kids, they're still looking for another boyfriend, right? To
Mhm.
reaffirm them and all that kind of stuff. I mean, men have their own traumas. I'm not saying we don't. So we have our own trauma, but it's not the same. It's not. We don't operate in the sexual marketplace the same as women do. We just don't.
Mhm.
That's just
We
that's just what I look at it.
we don't yet. Our pain. I came out of my marriage. I was married from 2004 to like 2016, 20 no, like 2018. And when I came out of my marriage, man, the ball game for um sex and meeting women, it had changed a lot. I found that, actually going out and having sex with somebody, it wasn't hard. That wasn't hard. But finding somebody that I could truly trust and be vulnerable with, that I felt like wasn't going to out to take something with some type of ulterior motive, that was the hard part.
Well, it sounds like you
But
agree with me then.
a,
Sounds like you
a,
agree with me.
a little bit, a little bit.
All right. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. Sometimes
So you're saying that women, the way that they deal and handle their trauma usually is more sex related than men.
I think so. I think so. I think,
Agree with that.
I got my own theories about this. Listen, I tell men, saint or sinner, where our demand for sex is pretty much constant. If you look at the male half of the species for heterosexual men, whether you're a saint or a sinner, whether you want to get married or just want to smash, our demand for sex from a woman is pretty much constant. If you take the age range from 17 or to a man who can't have sex no more, no matter what, when a man wants to look for a wife, sex is a part of it. If he's looking for a honey just to smash, sex is a part of it. I think that women's promiscuity or lack thereof is what drives the sexual marketplace. That's why the women in the East are different than the women in the West. If I want to find a virtuous woman, I can go to the East and I have a better chance of finding one there than I would in the West, because women are unleashed in the West. And the sexual marketplace is chaotic, to say the least now, right? That because of women. I mean, men are a constant. I mean, we all want sex, so so this is just my theory of how that works, and I think I'm not a demagogue, but I think I'm right on that, because women, see, we say in these spaces, and you heard this before, Precious, that women control access to sex. What does that really mean, right? If we're not going to allow ourselves to say women control that part of things, so what does it really mean when we say that, right? Because they do, because they own their wombs. Whether they want to take accountability or not, that's a different story. So that's how I look at it. So when I move, and I've been married for a long time, but I haven't been invisible from the marketplace. I worked for 38 years. I had to talk to women. I had to do all kinds of stuff. And so that's my theory. And I just look at men. I don't care what men. And men will have egos, right? So we think we control some of the marketplace. I don't care if you're a Casanova or not. Unless a woman says yes, you ain't getting laid.
Right.
You're just not. So unless you want to commit a criminal act, right? So the point is, women control that, and they need to take agency and ownership of it. But men won't let them, because we always want to say that we're in control of everything, but something we don't control. We control our actions. Once we do it, and we take accountability, because the law says that if you have a baby, you pay it for 18 to 21 years under threat of jail. So we're held accountable by the law, even if it's not by a woman, if she puts you on child support. So we don't get away unscathed. And most men, they don't care. In the moment, only 10% of men know how to walk away and don't do something stupid, I think. And I think that's a high number. You can ask any man on the panel what was the hardest thing they did, some of it, before it's turning down trim. It's one of the hardest things any man has. If you think about it, when it's looking at you right there, your steam coming off it and stuff, it's hard to say no. It's hard to say no. So you got to be a discerning man.
I'm ready.
He said, when that hot already is in your face.
I'm telling you. I mean, and think back, all of you guys. This is one of the hardest things I ever had to do, from that standpoint. And I was young, and I learned that real young. So what the hell, man? I like talking about this stuff. So
No. Hey, that's dope. I've always said, and it was something that I learned, that I think a guy that's not controlled by his Johnson is a guy that is worth his weight in gold. Like I can think about. I've known someone, may he rest in peace, who lost his life driving to go meet someone late at night when he had to turn around and be at practice the very next day. You talking an hour and a half because his lady wanted some, and pressured him to, get down and drive. And he was young and he made the decision to drive down there, spend some time with her, turn around and drive an hour and a half back to campus, and fell asleep behind the wheel and lost his life.
Yeah, I mean, but just think about it though. I mean, men, but there are some men who could do it. But if you ask a person, all men, give me a percentage of men who are that discerning out of the whole diaspora of men.
It's small. It's small.
Yeah, it's not that much. And
y'all ain't turned down no coochie. Y'all said, look, I'ma drive, I'ma fly, I'ma get there by boat. Okay.
Drive, sometimes okay, sometimes will do anything for it. But the history is littered with examples of men doing that. It's just littered. The president of the United States gave it up for something stupid, right? And just go through history.
Kobe Bryant.
All so men are. We want to be macho, but it's just not true, man. That's the one superpower. Men's superpower is not sex. It's marriage.
Right.
It's marriage. That's our one last superpower, because a woman can't cross that threshold unless we ask her.
Woo, 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 woo. I've been sitting back listening. And
Hey,
man,
I
oh
want you
man.
to say that, but man, you go back and forth. So whenever you're ready, brother, go ahead and load it on me, man. You know what I'm
Uh,
saying?
well, Payne, I will say this. What you're saying, how many years you been married?
36 as of last week.
30.
Happy
Congratulations, first and
anniversary.
foremost. Yeah, happy
Well,
anniversary.
thank you.
Um, 36 years ago,
Right.
a lot of women were different. I would say 20 years ago, a lot of women are different, but right now, women think like men. And so that's a lot of the reason why I say some of the things that I say, because I would love for them not to be that way, but they have been so desensitized that they are really very similar to young men at that, not men with with Johnson discipline, but young men who you were describing to me, those who can't turn down. Because yeah, I've turned down more than I probably have had, quite frankly, but I was in a different reason for that. And to answer, and it's part of that second question that I didn't answer when I answered the peacock. But seriously, being able to trust enough to take off a condom is something that I think connects me more so than anything else. Because there was a time where I just couldn't take a condom off for, I mean, years sometimes in having sex with a person. And it had nothing to do with the fact that I couldn't trust them entirely, to everybody's point. Be able to honest and openly trust somebody is something that's difficult for me to do, for all of the reasons and the games and the things that we've experienced as men, and the climate of the nature of women nowadays. Nowadays, they are not where we used to. So when you find one, that's why we embrace them, because it's hard to find somebody who is not hurt, who is not tainted, who is not vengeful, resenting, uh, um, doing and moving from a standpoint of fear or hurt or pain. So I think that unfortunately men sometimes desensitize as well, and we are a reflection of, sometimes it's conditioned because of how we were raised. Sometimes it is the hurt of that first girl who cheated on you, and you're like, oh goddamn, never again. And our pride will stick us in there chasing every piece of coochie that we can put our piece in, and not have any attachment to them whatsoever. But when you are beyond that, is the reason why I said we connect in similar ways, and we attach in similar ways. When you are healed, or you're beyond that, and you are looking for something significant, once you decide to enter that woman, or once you decide to engage in with that woman, it was a premeditated decision, other than you being caught out there at night, horny, and like you said, and it's hot. That's a whole different scenario. But if you got to that place, with intention, then you are intentionally preparing to be something more than just a piece of um, sex, or so you get attached when you engage in that just as well, because you already mentally was trying to get there. But if you're not mentally trying to get there, which is more commonplace in both men and women right now, then of course it ain't gonna matter. It's just sex to them like it is to us.
Well, you prove my point, though. You strengthen my argument about women being more like men. That's one of the reasons why the sexual marketplace is so chaotic. Because, and there's reasons for that, right? The pill, feminism, and people pounded into women's head that their sexual freedom is empowerment, right? Not really considering the damage it's causing to them, right? And men,
Right.
like I said, men have their own traumas, but the trauma for women and men is just different,
Just
because the
different. Yeah.
energy during sex is different. Women collect all the energy men give them, and you can't
Hmm.
collect all that energy from a lot of different guys because there's no way for you to dissipate. You know, and
Right.
it manifests itself in drugs and antidepressants and trauma and different baby mamahood and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to cause you to feel a certain way about men. You know, more women are going towards lesbianism, more, you know, just all kinds of stuff going on because of their sexual freedom. And I have there's a lot of clips and studies on that coming out. You know, like I said, women, it's not a double standard either. It's a
I
different
saw
standard.
I
I
saw a
agree.
video of a woman pretty much saying, it was her and a guy talking back and forth. I think that they're on a podcast together. And she was saying, well, if you're not telling me which way we're going, I don't know if I should continue to have sex with you or you're still rocking with me, but you're not really telling me, that you really, really want to be with me. And then at the end of the video, she was like, well, maybe I should be with a woman. Like that's what her thought process came to by the end of their conversation, right? And then he goes, well, maybe. And it's like, no, no. You have,
Yeah,
like you're saying,
Well,
our pain women, we as women have to reserve that energy because we are receiving it, right?
yeah.
Men will lay down with you and they will get up from you and go on about their business like ain't nothing happened. But a woman is stuck with that energy. A woman will start to embody some of your characteristics if she has sex with you long enough because it is like a spiritual transfer. It's not just, oh well, we just had a good time and it's over now. What's Tuesday? What's going on for Tuesday? It's like no, that stays with the woman, and women know that, they realize that, but they don't want to cut that tie off because it feels so good to them, and they don't realize it's destroying them. Because if this man is not committing to you, why are you continuing to give him something that is going to alter, change, and
Mhm.
direct your mood somewhere else? That before having sex with him, you were a different temperamental person.
this is all true, but again, it's a mentality. That's not a physical attribute. That's a theory on physical attributes. Because again, if your intentions are genuine, both genders, then you will have those same type of sentiments and thoughts. Unfortunately, it's not genuine. Men have been learning to be just get as much coochie as possible from early on, and now women are learning the same thing and they're
Yeah,
just following suit.
yeah.
So I
I
mean,
can't argue that point.
your point is, yeah, I agree with you. Your point as well, but that's what your intention is. If your intention is to make a woman pure, so to speak, then you too will have similar thoughts. But if your
How about this?
intention, go ahead.
How about this, Sean? Just real quick. Yeah, you're right about the intentions. But if a man and woman's intentions about having a relationship, they could arrive at that same point going down a different road. She can go down her road of being attached to you because you satisfy something in her, and you can get there because she satisfies something in you. It don't have to be the same things. You know what I'm
Oh, I
saying?
agree. I agree wholeheartedly. But what I'm sharing with you is I know a lot of women who do not share the same emotion, and I've talked with them and talked with them about the men that they laid it out there for. Yo, this is just sex. We ain't gonna have nothing. And then
Oh,
that
yes, we are.
man turned around talking about, yo, what's up? I'm saying we spend a lot of time. I'm spending a lot of energy. And she like, yo, nah, I told you from the start. I just wanted to have you for sex. And that's becoming more commonplace. And so but that again is communicating the intention. When that happens, yeah, that's determined.
I'm not denying men do get whipped. Yeah, men do get whipped. I mean, it's true. You know, we had a term for that, right? P whipped. Yeah, you know, so it happens. It happens. You know, so I can't argue that.
Well, the funny thing is about digmatized and whip. If your intentions are not communicated clearly, and this is kind of why when we said how much I turned down is because when I have, it's because my intentions were different, and I've done both ways. I've done it to where my intentions was something more serious, and I've done it to where my intentions was strictly sex. And I've identified and communicated it both. Now, what happened, I'll speak on the when it was just sex, they were with it up
Okay.
until up
They
until
asked you
they
where you
started
at.
having feeling. Right. They
There
said,
you go.
"Hey, I was thinking about something different, maybe we can." And I was like, "Nah, that ain't what we signed up for."
You
And
straight to
I
the point.
respectfully declined at that point. And I was like, "Yo, we can't do nothing no more. Come on, can't nah, because your feelings and my feelings in two different places, and I ain't trying to play with your feelings." So that's one of the scenarios where I had to turn down what I didn't want to turn down because it was great. But at the same time, the headache that comes behind it is what I'm always thinking about. I'm like, yo, it feel good now, and then later I have something that won't feel as great. I have nagging. I have feelings. I have things that I'm just not. That's why I want to be single and I just want to have sex because I don't want those things that come along with a relationship. I don't want those feelings and scenarios. So I was very clear on that. And when it started rearing its head, I was like, you know what? I hear you, but you might want to take some time off from this.
I hear you. I'm here. Precious, back to you.
Just gonna take a little break here. Thank you so much for Sir Hale Speaks for his super chat 4.99. He says salute. Thank you so much, Sir Hale. Good to see you in the building. I appreciate everyone who is here this evening. I see the chat is going crazy. Super C talk about some crossover. Don't get beat. Okay. Don't get beat. Super C. I'll lace some shoes up real quick. Put on some shorts and a tank top. But thank you guys for being here. Just so you know, tonight is sponsored by jecreativehosting.com. So if you guys are looking to get your websites up and running and you need somewhere to host them, go over to jecreativehostings.com where there is a code of HCM22 for a discount for being a subscriber of mine. So thank you guys again for being here this evening. Definitely hit the like button, share this live, and subscribe to the channel. So we were just talking about how trauma affects men and women differently. We know that women are very emotion led. Therefore, you having sex with all these men, you're going to have a lot of emotions. But for men, is not always like that. This next clip is of a man who is going through his emotions, but he's dealing with them in a different way. And I want to get you guys' take because this is the men's panel, and you guys can give a little bit more insight and understanding as to how you handle rough patches, dark holes in your life. So my question to you guys is self-harm usually the first thing men do when they can't control what is going on around them? So he experienced, it seems like, a death of a loved one, someone really close to him. I'm going to assume maybe his wife, maybe the mother of his child. And he said that he would drink and he would drink and he would drink till he got numb. I know a lot of men who drink. I know that it is a way for them to escape. I know it's a way for them to try to, escape their issues. They have a lot going on, and drinking is one of the ways that they do that. But my question to you guys is that usually the first thing that men do when they can't control what is going on around them, especially because you guys pride yourself on being in control?
I'll start. I think it's not a gender specific answer to that. I think a lot of people fall into that, and control it could be the root of it all. We are very controlling, but so are women. And if they're not, sometimes they want to be, and if we're not, sometimes we want to be. And do we self sabotage or try and numb pain or try and control it? Absolutely. And are there different remedies on doing that? Absolutely. Is alcohol one of them? If you have been drinking, perhaps that, yeah, all of those things can take place. But I don't think there's one thing that fits all. I think that it's really dependent on the mindset. Everything to me is the mind. Your mind controls your thoughts, your decisions, etc. And if your mind doesn't, then everything else will. And so when you are not in, have a strong mind to be able to facilitate some of that pain, no telling where you will go. It will sometimes be sex, it might be alcohol, it might be drugs, it might be um, isolation. There's a lot of different coping mechanisms that happen when your mind is being challenged, or something is being challenged emotionally or traumatically. So I really can't say that that is a man thing to run to alcohol, but it can be absolutely on either part.
Yep, and I'm going to jump right in because what Sean said was very similar to my thoughts. I was having a discussion today on my earlier live stream, and the title was called Turning My L into a Win. And the mindset that I had after my divorce, I was a guy that was depressed. I was a guy that didn't quite understand what was going on in my life and how to turn things around. And I did some self sabotaging and things like that to try to mask what was going on and to try to get the feeling of being happy. But it wasn't until I changed my mindset and got stronger that I could see or understand the harm that that does. Now that's not the case. I don't deal with different traumas that way, but I'll sum it up by saying I think a weak-minded individual, and I almost hate saying that way because I know how it sounds, but I think that a weak-minded individual doesn't get through traumas healthy. They find ways to deal with it that are harmful.
How did you stop self-sabotage? How did you get out of it?
When I was at rock bottom, kind of what that guy said in that clip, I realized some things that I needed to do for my daughter as well as myself. But one of the catalysts was her. I was renting from this absolute batshit crazy lady, and I didn't have a choice because funds just wasn't right. And my ex-wife at the time, when I clearly explained to her why I didn't want my daughter to come around. I understood what our agreement was, but I'm like, look, this lady that I'm renting from is batshit crazy. I know I'm supposed to have my daughter on the weekends and primarily during the summer, but until I get a better situation, I don't want her here. And instead of supporting that decision, she really challenged me. And that was kind of a catalyst that said, I never want to get to the point to where this has to be a conversation that I have because I don't have my shit together. So I decided what was step one. I reached out because I have excellent health insurance, sought a therapist, and started turning things around.
Okay. All right. Hank?
Uh, Now, guys, I know y'all always. I feel like this. I don't know. Maybe it's me. But when pressure asks us a question about men, let's try to keep it on the men. Don't throw them women in there because I promise that's what they do. They do that shit to us. So don't be like them. When we talking about she asked about man, let's just speak on man. Okay, do we know it's both, but she's asking us about us as men. So with that being said, the question was when I'm in a dark place, right?
So the question that I asked was, is self-harm usually the first thing men do when they can't control what is going on around them?
Self harm. I mean, for
Because I
some
mean,
people,
he said he would drink till he was numb, and drinking is a depressant, so it's gonna put you down. You're probably gonna be drunk for a little bit, and you can continuously do that. I mean, your liver gonna be messed up.
yeah, I believe most men probably do stuff like that, and it may not just be drinking; it may be other drugs,
Mhm.
other vices they may partake in. Maybe gambling, maybe a sex addiction. Um, I don't know. Maybe even abuse.
Mhm.
Not maybe not of your woman, but of your kids, verbal or physical. So yeah, I believe some dudes do that because they feel like they have no other way to horn them them feelings and emotions in the proper manner. Some people, the first thing they was not going to do is go to therapy. We know as black people that would not go to for years. You would never hear somebody talk about going to therapy. And if you was, what's wrong with you? Crazy? That would be the first thing.
Mhm.
What's wrong with you? Why you going to? You got to be crazy or off your rocker. It can't be just man because I need somebody to listen to, and I can't trust you motherfuckers with nothing. I say because I know you motherfuckers like to gossip. Some of you hard ankles, y'all gossip more than women. So I can't trust you to tell you. I can't trust you to have the conversation because you won't hold. Now there's some dudes that they can, but with certain things you just don't know. I take the motto of I wouldn't share anything that I haven't already dealt with.
Mm.
I'm not gonna share anything with you on the screen that I have not already addressed or dealt with. If I haven't, I'm not gonna share it with you because I don't I don't have that level of trust with any particular person. So I wouldn't share that. But once I already addressed it, I dealt with it, I handled it, I talked about it, I got off my chest and I worked my way through it. I have no problem with sharing it. But if it's still in the works, I won't talk about it. Now, fortunately, my lady, she can get that. She can get all that fire, all that heat, all of what I got to say because I trust and believe in her that she will do that for me. Not everybody has that type person, right? So what are they to do? Well, man, if it was me, I would encourage you to sit back and reflect and think, do I need to go see a therapist? Do I need to get some type of counseling? And therapists don't have to be a professional. Sometimes it could be somebody who you can trust, right? It can be somebody you can rely on, a couple guys you can rely on, and they're gonna hold you to the fire. They're gonna hold you accountable. They're gonna be there for your corner. They're gonna keep your secret to them. If you got that circle, if you don't, I encourage you to go get on somebody's couch or get in somebody's Zoom meet. I say it all the time when I in my show, man. Uh, Black man, protect yourself at all times, whether it's your mental or your physical. Doesn't matter. You got to do what you have to do. So, unfortunately, we do act like this. We do carry a lot like this, where we hit that bottle hard and we don't. Then now we got a different problem. So like King said, he going through divorce. You dealing with that now. You got an alcohol problem.
Mm.
Now you're alcoholic. Now you need to get in AA meetings on top of dealing with the divorce, on top of dealing with maybe visitation issues, child support issues, or issues with your job because they don't want to work with you because you got your child during the summertime, like King was saying, during the summertime, so they don't want to be flexible with your schedule. You got all those things, and you're gonna put maybe drugs on top of it, alcoholism on top of it, abuse. whether it's verbal or mental. You know what I'm saying? Now you're scaring your kids because they don't want to be around you because you're in a dark place. So now you
Or
have nobody to rely on, nobody you could turn to, nobody you could pour into. And you know, most of the time our kids is our last crying resort. Shit, we'll let our girlfriends or wives be to the side. But if I look at that child and our kids could bring us back to some type of reality.
Mm-hmm.
Those are our reality checks because they know they depend on me. You know what I'm saying? They depend on me for whatever I do. And if I don't come through, I'm letting not only myself down, I'm letting this person that looks like me, that's got the same blood as my dude, that's got the same last name. I'm letting them down. And that's the last person I want to let down. I don't have a problem letting myself down. I let myself down on a regular basis, and there's nothing new. I let my ex-wife down. I let girlfriends down. When it comes to my kids, that's the last person I ever want to let down. Because of this disappointment in the eyes is something so deep you'll never forget that love. So I'm done.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Listen, we have a great example of how men deal with trauma back when the FBI, CIA, FBI filled the neighborhoods with drugs. Right. Men who had any kind of trauma either went to sell drugs or took heroin being the top thing. So that kind of shows you there was a great number of men who abandoned everything they were responsible for, and they got on the stuff. Right. And, so yeah, a whole bunch of men who beat their women because they were frustrated about one thing or another. Now, I'm not going to say that's what most men did, but we can't deny that, if we just look at the Black community, at one point, we had a lot of men in turmoil, right? From drugs and all that kind of stuff. Then when crack came, same thing, And so we got to take that L as men, on how to handle things. I have another theory. I like my theories. I think a lot of men who are turning to be, transgenders or gay. I think a lot of men can't stand the pressure of being a man. And they see how a lot of females are being catered to, not just Black ones, but everybody. So it's easier if I'm a woman. I don't have to worry about being the pressure of a man. I mean, even the transgender guys, women, the men who are biologically men, they even got the state to put them in female prisons as opposed to going into male prisons because they know the kind of time they would do is a lot different. So I think, men deal with trauma. A lot of us fail at it. We do, for a lot of host of reasons. Now, can I say it's the majority? It can't be the majority, right? Because we have too many men who are doing well, even in the Black community. Right. So, but it's a statistically significant amount of men who can't handle any kind of trauma, which is a bad thing, and so we can't deny it. And so that's where it's at. And in my personal life, I don't have any real anecdotal thing. It's nothing but funny. I mean, when I was young, one of my frat brothers caught me crying over a girl. Right, she just whipped me in and out, inside out. And he said, "Oh man, pain, everything is cool, man. Don't worry about it." Until that evening when all the frat brothers was in the frat house, he couldn't wait to just let me have it in front of everybody. He said, "Man, I came home, I saw Payne crying over this chick, blah, blah, blah." It made me feel some kind of way. And I never did that again. Well, I never trusted his ass again with that kind of
Right.
information. That's for sure. But it changed me. And it changed me to the point where I actually started talking to women so I could understand who they are and how they operate and what. And it's kind of funny. You put me on this kind of thing where I can't say I'm a genius at it, but I think I'm pretty decent to understand how women are. And so I don't want to go on and talk about women, but what I'm saying from my own point of view as a man, I understood the power that ladies have. And a woman told me that. See, the woman only got one power over you. And if you relinquish yourself to that, you're going to be in trouble. And that was on my own trauma. So, but I just been kind of blessed, knock on wood. But I know about men in my own family and everything else. Some guys deal with trauma very badly. And I don't know if it's shame or it's just nature.
Mm.
So
Well, It's what's interesting about what you said, and Hank, you made a point of speaking about just men. Okay, well, let's do that. A lot of men are weak-minded and hide behind the bravado of they're strong, and they don't want to accept the fact of when they're weak. They don't want to accept the fact of when they can't trust, which is a weakness. They don't want to accept the fact that they can't, can't deal with certain circumstances or having a hard time dealing with circumstances, which is normal, but they don't want to accept that because, their pride. So, do most men do that? Um, to Payne's point, I wouldn't want to categorize it as most, and I don't know any statistics, but there are many men who do. There are many men who are weaker mentally than they let out. They are physically brawn. They have a lot of accolades that they achieve, but they are still weak. And they sit there and hide behind all of their accolades. They hide behind all of their successes. They hide behind their bravado to disguise the weakness that they often are having, and which leads to the less weak or the minds that aren't as strong, and then they act normal like that is what you're supposed to be because they don't address it. They'll go and sorrow in liquor. They'll go and sorrow in the drugs. They'll go and hide and disguise that have any pain whatsoever. No pun intended to your last name, sir. But the point is that the weak mentality that men often exercise, and I will say worldly, even though I'm leaning more towards the American men that I've studied. Um, it's just that we have a tendency to disguise weakness, and I compare it because I make it comparable because a lot of times this is the thing that we shun others for, but we're guilty of it, and we don't often address it thoroughly. But if you identify it and you can understand it, cool. I don't think it's a weakness. I revert back. If you don't trust and you identify why you don't, I don't see it as a weakness because you recognize it. A lot of men have a tendency who do not recognize it or try to avoid facing it and try to avoid that. And that's the weakness that I'm referring to, when in fact you're not trusting, but you're acting as if you do, so that's kind of what I feel about men. And I wish that a lot of men will have more strength in their mental and their mentality other than following other men and following everything. A lot of men follow and act like they lead. A lot of men are not trendsetters, they're following bandwagoners and act like they aren't because they succeed and have money and have a lot of things that disguise their true character. But if we look at their true character, mentally, they're weak.
Okay. Did everybody go on this one? Alrighty. So we're gonna get into this last clip. I wanted to share this clip. Sean knows Pastor Darius Daniels. This is my pastor for my church, but yesterday he had a really good message. He's doing this series called Exit Strategies, and pretty much how we're in our mind a lot. We need these strategies to come out of certain things. A lot of things could be mental. A lot of things could just be self-inflicted things that we have just been recycling in our minds and our bodies in our lives. But he has said something towards the end of the message that I want to bring to you guys' attention. Because I think a lot of times, they always say don't talk about religion, politics, and stuff like that. But um, to live in this world, you're gonna need a higher power. Okay, you're gonna need a higher power, whatever higher power you feel is necessary. I believe in Jesus Christ. We always say we love Jesus over here. But he had the last part of his sermon was a really good point that he made um about being offended. And a lot of times I don't think that we are real when it comes to our offenses. And when I say I don't think that we're real, a lot of times we be mad at God, but we're not honest about that. We pin it on our partner, we pin it on our job, we pin it on our trauma, we pin it on our parents, we pin it everywhere else instead of going to the source, instead of actually being real with the source. So I'm going to play this clip and then we'll get into it.
So, Lord, I've had a silent offense because I've been focused on the wrong thing. Offense hinders intimacy. You're limited in how close you can be to someone you're offended by. And until that offense is dealt with, you and God can only go so deep. And you need to be introduced to a God who can handle it. He says, if you'll put the real you on the altar, I'll consume it. If you stop hiding it because you think I'm intimidated by it, I can help you with it. But I can't heal it if you keep hiding it. And he's going to give you the grace to be real.
So he talked about offense hindering intimacy. And I think Sean talked about it a little bit in the last topic, how, you know, you don't see it as a weakness. You know, you don't see something as a man's weakness if he's actually being honest about it. Um, and I wanted to talk about this with the men, particularly because they always say, you know, there's not a lot of men in church, men don't go to church and, you know, stuff like that. But I don't think that a lot of men realize how God sends people into your life. And it's like, are you utilizing those people? But before you utilize those people, are you being honest about the offenses that you blame God for? So my question to you guys, and before you answer it, I'm going to answer it. When a lot of you may or may not know that I was adopted and went through foster care. I lived in 4 homes before I was adopted. So my offense with God was why? Why I had to go through this? Why did I have to be separated from my biological parents, live in these homes, then I get adopted, now I'm with these people that I don't know. I have to start a relationship with them from the age of 8, and I knew a life before this. That was my biggest offense with God, and I had to be real with him. I had to be real with myself on where my anger came from and where my communication, my lack of communication came from, because I wasn't always this person who spoke about issues, who was open to talk to other people about their issues. That's where my offense came from. So that's where I had to then get real with myself and say, okay, I'm gonna need to go to therapy, and I'm also going to need to get connected to God, because he gave adoption to me for a reason. He gave foster care to me for a reason, and I keep questioning him why he did it, instead of embracing that, look, he done gave it to you, so he must want you to do something with it. He must want you to use it in some type of way. So my question to you guys, now that I've answered it, and definitely feel, share what you feel comfortable with, but has there ever been a time where you feel like you were offended by God, whether it was a death, someone was taken from your life, you just couldn't understand why it happened to you? So whoever wants to just jump in and take the reins, be my guest. Ever think of a time where you felt offended and you like, all right, God, why me?
I'll go, and leading this is going to be a little bit different from me.
Mhm.
I am not a spiritual person. I grew up in Alabama in a Baptist church, and after I joined the Air Force and traveled the world, I started, questioning a lot of things. I don't crap on anybody's faith at all. I encourage anyone to lean into heavy if that's what they're choosing to do with their faith and things like that. I think that question's interesting, and the reason why it's interesting is the lady that I'm dating is in the church. I'm not. Initially, one of the things when we were talking about our interest among each other was that I told her straight up at the beginning. I actually said it for a while. I said, I think we're oil and water. I said, I think we're oil and water because she had written, and I had read some of her blogs about wanting to uh, be introduced by God to a man that's led by God. And I told her, I said, that's not the way I think. So if that's what you're seeking in someone, it's not me, you know? And she had expressed that. So it's difficult for me to answer that question. But what I can add to it is that I do encourage her to, lean into her faith, seek the guidance from the, people in her church and things like that that follows her faith and stuff, because I understand the importance it is for her in her life. But I can't answer that question personally for me because I don't go off of decisions in which I feel as though like I've offended God.
No,
I
not that you have offended God, that something has happened in your life and you was mad at God for it.
Oh yeah,
So,
I don't think that way. So,
okay.
but not speaking for my lady, but in conversations that we've had, I know she has. But yeah, I don't think that way.
And just a simple question for you, King, before we move on. You said that you're not led by God. So, who or what are you led by?
Me,
Okay. And when you fail, then what?
I fix it.
Okay. Interesting. Whoever wants to go next. How about grooming and reviews? Heat. Welcome to
Hey,
the
what's going on?
panel.
You had your homework. Did you do it?
No.
Hey, everybody. Can you repeat the question because I jumped on this midway?
The question pretty much is there ever was there ever a time where you
Mhm.
felt mad at God for a situation that you were ever in, taking a loved one from you, something that was out of your control?
Not mad, but I felt he was punishing me at one time. It was more than one time. I would say. I would say maybe 2, 3 times in my life. Um, Not getting too deep in this subject, but I was in a situation once that I got burned by a female really bad. Um, to the point like cops had to get involved, and I got the worst part of it. I felt I was getting punished, like I did something wrong. The second time was when I drifted away from the church, and now I'm back into it. But when I was drifting away, I felt he was punishing me because I couldn't go to church, and I didn't really want to go. I felt like he hated me at one point. But I realized I was now that I'm older, wiser, and greater that he doesn't punish anybody. He doesn't hate anybody. He's gonna wait for you to come to him when you're ready.
That's facts. Alrighty. Who wants to go next? Sean, Hank, or
As
King?
far as me, I can't think of a thing that I guess I blame God on. I mean, nothing in particular. I mean, because whatever was going wrong, I knew it was something more that I did than anybody else. So
Mhm.
I can't think of a time. As far as a death, anything like that, no. I guess because my father's a preacher,
Mhm.
so I'm a preacher's kid. So I understood what is need to be understood about certain things, why certain things happen, because it was explained to me. So no, I don't. I'm sorry.
Let's go.
Let me
Hank,
go.
I learned
I
more
do.
and more about you, Hank, and I respect you even more as you share, and that's another tier of respect that I have for you. And
So you're gonna go, or you want me
because you
to
being the
go?
man you are. No, you don't go. I'm just was giving props to Hank as he shared that he was.
Right
And this,
on.
okay. Um, I never really felt mad at God for anything. I always give. I was born a Catholic. That's one thing about Catholics. You're born into the Catholicism. And I went through Catholic school all the way up to 12. I converted to Baptist because my wife is a Baptist, right? But I'm never really a good church goer. I think I'm more spiritual than I am religious because religious stuff is all man made, as far as I'm concerned. But one of the things is that when I look at God, I says, I understand laying your burdens down at the altar, but I never really got mad at God for anything except that I appreciate the lessons, all the crap He got me through. That's one thing, and all the lessons I've learned from the mistakes that happened. I also give
Mhm.
thanks for me learning a lesson where I could come back from. So and so my wife is religious, right? And she wants me to really get more into the church. I said, I really don't have to go to church for that. I mean, I got my own Bible, I read it, and if I need some understanding, I can talk to people. But I often joke with her. I said, listen, we're gonna write a book, The Heathen and the Thumper, right? And we always get a, yeah, I'm the heathen, you're the thumper. We could write a book and talk about it, but we connect at a strange level, even though she would like me to be more church going. So I have to make a guest star appearance. And I says, well, you know what? Here's how you can tell your man is still attached with God. I said, lightning bolts don't come down. When I touch the doorknob to the church, lightning bolts don't come down and strike me. So I'm still invited in. So as long as you don't have to worry about it. But she would like me to be more involved. But it's just
Mhm.
not me. I had a conversation with my pastor. He says, "How come you don't come to church, especially during football season?" And I said, "Man, I work on. I want to see football. I had a sports bar I was going to." He said, "Well, what would Jesus do?" I said, "Jesus would change the time of service." You know, so I said that's what Jesus would do. He would change the time so you could get more men in there. But that was my running joke with him. But so I haven't really to say any trauma or anything like that I would blame God for. But I give thanks for the good, the bad, and the fact that I can keep moving forward. I think that's how I look at it.
Mhm.
Hey, Payne, I'm curious, man. You said that you converted to Baptist because your wife's a Baptist.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Why not the other way around? Just
Because
out of
she
curiosity.
no, well, because her whole family was back. Because I started going to the Baptist church, and there's more soul in the Baptist church anyway. And she didn't have to convert for me because she's the one real religious one. So I didn't even ask her. I just did it so we could have harmony. And I said, well, and it was an affirmation that here I got a choice to be a Christian. In the Catholicism, you don't. You're born as a Catholic. So here I got baptized. I was a grown man. So I had to get, in front of the congregation. They dunked me in there, and all that kind of stuff. And had a little ceremony. I said, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I used to go to church a little bit more. Then I just said, I don't need it. Especially when church started to veer away from teaching an objective stuff from the pulpit, right? So that's where I'm at. So my
Okay.
wife works for the church though, so I always stay close. I say, listen, you're gonna have to get me in. I said, worst kind of worst, you're gonna have to put a good word in for me, honey. But that's it.
You know that ain't how it work, right? Because when she get up
That's not
there,
true.
he ain't gonna ask her about you. He ain't gonna
That's
say
not
no.
true. I know
Tell us
that's
our
not.
teen acting.
Payne, if I may ask a question here, are there much difference between Catholic and baptism, in
Turn
your
your
opinion?
volume
Your
down.
mic is super loud.
Well,
Ah,
listen,
wow.
they both
Oops.
believe in the same God, except that the Baptists don't have a Jesus on the cross like the Catholic does. The Catholics do. A lot of times, it's just a symbol. Maybe they might have the Jesus on a crucifix, but it's mostly like just a symbol of a cross in a lot of churches I go to. But so there's some fundamental differences, but it's the same God. Even with Muslims, it's all the same God. The Jews, the Muslims, and the Christians, we all worship the same God. you know, and everybody tries to make distinctions, but I don't, so that's a whole nother story.
Thanks
That's
for
a whole nother
clarifying. I hope the mic's a little better now.
Yes.
story.
Well, it's funny that you asked that, and the first answer was turn your mic down because immediately I thought that was the answer between Catholic and Baptist. One
Listen,
is a lot louder.
Peacock. I have a present for you. I bought you a present just for you, my man.
Oh man.
I told you 2 weeks
Oh
ago I was
man.
going to get it for you, and I got it.
Oh
But do me a
man.
favor, send me your address on the back check. I'll mail it to you.
Oh man, I'll do that. I'll do that. That's funny. I'll do that. That's funny. Man. And go ahead, Precious.
I was gonna say I asked you guys that question just because, like, the clip before this one, the guy went to drinking, um, and that's how he dealt with the death of whoever that was in his life. And a lot of times we turn to everything, everything else but the source of love. And in the video, he says that, offense hinders intimacy. And a lot of times we don't, and it's not that you have to be mad at God. You don't have to be mad at God, because obviously I'm the only one up here that was mad at God at some point in life. You don't have to be mad at God, but what he does want you to do is put that question out there, like, where are you? Have you guys ever been in a place where it's just like, all right, God, where you at? Like, I feel like you done left me out here by myself. And I know this is not a topic that guys like to talk about or get into in depth, but I do want those who are watching and those who are on the panel to really think about that, because there are, like I said, in this day and time, we need a higher source. And if you're not taking care of things between you and God, there's no way you're going to be able to fully take care of them between you and another human being. God does send people to give you messages. He sends people to, pretty much give you a little nudge, or be that encouragement, or be that coach, or someone who is alongside of you, helping you. The word says two are better than one. When one falls down, you want that other person there to help you get up. And I think a lot of times, like King said, I said, well, what do you do when you fail? And then you like, I fix it. Well, our human strength isn't always going to be enough. So I hope that Michelle say some prayers over you. I hope that
Yeah,
you
hey,
know
she
because
t-
you're not
she
going
t-
you're not gonna we can't make this life alone in our own human strength. We naturally get tired. We naturally fail. We naturally do that. And when we lean on our own self and we lean on our own understanding, we can actually get lost. We can
hey,
actually go down paths that we shouldn't be going down.
she tells me all the time that she prays for me, and I'm not offended by that. I encourage her, and I tell her I'm thankful that she's doing it.
Hmm.
Now,
Oh
King,
yeah.
let me ask you a question.
It's not something I do, but when she tells me that, I'm like, thank you.
Hmm.
King, let me ask you a question. Would you be against going to church with her, or have you gone to church with her?
I told her to never expect me to show up in church.
So you're not even have at least try. See,
No,
maybe.
no.
Damn, you even let me finish the question.
I mean, we've already talked about this. There is no scenario that you could give me where my answer is going to be, I'll show up. I told her no.
Not
But it's
even
kind of
to
funny though, King, because it's because I don't like to go to church either. I mean, I go in under circumstance, weddings, funerals, maybe some of the big holidays. But I don't think I need to be there for my belief in God. I really don't. I, when the church needed new computers, I bought the computers for them and stuff like that. I, I'm just one of those. It's kind of weird because you don't go, I don't go, but it's for different reasons. And my wife would like me to go, but she doesn't nag me over it because that's just one of the things she's willing to live with. Because I think I'm spiritual enough that she feels it. Matter of fact, I think I tell her often I'm more spiritual than she is, and you're the religious one. So we go back and forth. We talk about it. We'll pray together and stuff like that. So I said that's enough for me. And one of the things about humans, and I don't know how I can't say for you, but most humans believe in some kind of higher power. They just do. It's like it's a natural thing for us. That's why we could be exploited by so many charlatans, right? If you know, I'm not saying religious are charlatans, but I think we have this innate thing. And even if you don't believe in God, sometimes that's a belief in itself. You know, so I don't know. So that's how I look at it. But you're right. We can't look down on anything because the atheists, and they say there's no atheists in a foxhole. That's what they say. But I don't know. I've never been in one. So so let's meet at the there. So, but we're
I think it's
similar.
more so of a personal. I don't think that you have to go to church in order to call yourself a Christian. I think that church sets order. I think it sets, like a practice of just going, just like work. Work sets order. You go in, you clock
Yeah,
in, you have your daily routine, your morning routine, you have lunch, then you have your lunch routine, and you leave. I think it's one of those things. I don't think that I think that those people who are in the church should be the church outside of the church. So just because you go to
yeah,
the church, there's people that go to the church and you don't even know that they believe God. I mean, believe in God. You don't know that they have a certain relationship with God because they don't express it out of their mouths. And I think that you will be able to see someone by the fruit that they bear, by the way that they are with other people. So I don't think that you necessarily have to, like, I don't go to a church building, and Sean, you already know, like, he's in Atlanta. So, I watch it online, and I get my church that way. But it's not only just watching church too, it's a personal relationship. And I think that it doesn't have to be something that we all know about. I don't have to know about your personal relationship with God, but I do want to know that you guys are being covered, and I'm going to continue to pray for you. I'm going to continue to say prayers so that you guys are covered. But I think that men feel like they have to do it alone, and they have to be in control of everything. And if that was the case, King, you would have known about Michelle. She wouldn't have come out of like left field to you. And I think that sometimes we don't give God the credit that is due him. Or on the other end of that spectrum, we don't say, "All right, God, I'm mad with you." And it's okay to say, "God, I'm mad with you." It's okay to say, "God, I got some grievances with you. I got some things it's some things we need to talk out. It's some things we need to work out." And I think people don't do that because it's like, all right, well, he not sitting across from me. He's not, we're not having a conversation per se. However, it is that simple. It is that simple for you to talk to God and nobody be there. And nobody, you don't have to have a face looking back at you, but it is that simple. And just saying, I have some issues and I need you to hear me out. I don't talk to God like thou art. No, I don't thee, thou, I don't do all that. I be like, God, I'm mad at you. We got a problem. I'm mad. I want to know why. And when I ask those questions, then I go and read, then I go and seek a message, or then I go and seek confirmation on what I'm mad about. Should I be mad about this? Maybe I shouldn't be mad about this. Maybe I'm in my feelings. Maybe I'm overreacting about something. So I think sometimes we take a relationship with God, or we talk about church and things like that. We do these things so literally, and we don't see and because some people don't go to church, you don't know what the order of things are. Some people don't know how to pray. Some people think that, prayer is supposed to be this, time where you're just pinned up, being your best, looking your best, smelling your best, talking to God. And it's like, no, God knows your heart. He know when you're not your best self. He knows when you're going through things. But it's like Pete said, he wants to be invited in. And that's the thing that I don't think that a lot of men do. I don't think a lot of men invite God in because they feel like they got it all under control. They feel like they got it, that their word is the last word. And it's crazy to me because I've known a lot of men who have gotten in motorcycle accidents, car accidents, things like that, and they still won't give God the, I'll say, the glory that he's due. Because why are you still here today?
Mhm.
How are you still driving a car? You got 3, 4 DUIs. You didn't been in so many head-on collisions. Like, how are you still here today? But they do not want to give the credit where it's due. They think that they're still alive today because of them. They've been in comas for days. Okay, out of here. And they wake up and they still don't want to say, God saved me, saved my life.
Well, pride is a powerful thing,
But
and
that,
it's int-
go ahead.
no, pride is a powerful thing, and it's interesting because every scenario that you spoke of that we spoke of in this time in this question, I'm familiar. Person who doesn't believe. The reason why, again, I made mention of Hinks' position on being a PK is because I can never really relate, or even though I know a lot of people who are, but that's a whole nother dynamic because they see the inside and outside of,
Mhm.
religion, of pastoring, of church. And so it sometimes I know a lot of them who it screwed them up entirely. And that's why I have a different respect and rapport when I said that, because most of the PKs that I know aren't well balanced because of what they were exposed to, and trying to still have some type of um, respect and honor for religion.
Mhm.
So when I hear that, I'm like, wow, because of the experience I've had with some of the PKs that I know. And then I know plenty of people men specifically, who don't go to church. And a reason why I think where I came to the conclusion of perhaps why is because we still have a tendency to not really believe in that pastor who's another man. Well, we don't want to sit and give any credence to that pastor being bigger or better than me, or bigger or better than the man. And so we have a tendency to lean towards, you know what, yeah, y'all getting bamboozled by that slick talking pastor who I could see straight through him and he ain't about nothing. And the hypocrisy we're able to see pretty clearly that some others can't see. So I can understand that as well. I was very spiritual before I was religious, and it was because of the hypocrisy. I'm guilty of that. I saw so much hypocrisy in church and so many things that I saw pastors do that I was like, yo, get out of here, knock that off. To where I dreaded going into church. I thought it was going to, never mind me touching the door handle. I felt that the lightning was going to strike as soon as before the sermon finished. And I was afraid, you know.
That's funny.
So, it's interesting, but to those, for example, in your scenario, King, I often question atheists or people, non-believers whatsoever, is if you are in control of everything, then live forever, and then I understand you. If you
I
can't live
mean,
forever,
life isn't something that is designed to be lived forever. That would apply if every other people were living to be forever. But being that people are born and they die, your circumstance is different than your circumstance is the same as mine, which is also the same as somebody who is a believer.
okay,
So I
okay,
don't see
well,
a difference in that.
okay, well, then here's the difference: live as long as you want. If you got that under control, live as long as you want.
That
Say
doesn't.
I want to put a date on it, and I want to live to 100, and or I want to live to whatever the age, and live as long as you want, without any. And I mean, there's a lot of circumstances that I can question or that I challenge. Not only live as you want, do as you want. Don't follow no rules and no laws. Do as you want. There's several people who do it. You do it.
the laws in the U.S. aren't the same as the laws in Canada, which is the same is different than laws that
Cool.
are in Muslim. I don't understand your point, Sean.
So the point is that you're right. They're different laws, but you don't got to follow any of them. You can live by your laws. Then, if that's the case, and I would love to see anybody do it, just live by your laws. Just go out and say, you know what, I'm going to, I don't know, do something. There is no real point to my that I'm trying to make specifically. The point is that I personally have learned otherwise because there's certain things that were designed
Right.
that if I just lent to my own belief and my own thoughts and my own abilities, it wouldn't have happened the way that it did. And so because I had those experiences is what made me really embrace a higher being above myself because I
Hey,
did
Sean,
lend it to myself. Yes, sir.
Pre- uh,
well, can I
Precious.
interject something real quick? Real quick. I mean, okay, I'm gonna let you up. Some people just live by the golden rule, whether they believe in God or not. Do unto others as you want them to do unto you. Some people just believe that, you know. So, and I think that for some folks, that's significant, right? Because everybody knows how they want to be treated and how they want to move through life. And if you treat people that way, you know, your outcomes can be just as good. So I mean, you know, it's tricky, you know, straddling the non-secular world with the secular world. That's one of the things that gets me through because I believe that the non-secular world, the religious world, or the Bible world, there's all kinds of corollaries with the secular world, you know. And some of the stories and some of the parables and all that, you can find them in just regular living, you know. So, I mean, that's what gets me kind of through it. But you know, I don't have the same kind of situation as Sean does. I mean, as King does. But still, the golden rule is what you really have to follow. Not the, well, I shouldn't say it that way. Is I don't want to even say it's sufficient because it might not be if you're believing in God, but it's a good start. It's a good start, even if you live
Uh,
in a secular world.
that's
Yeah,
interesting. Go ahead, King.
Oh, so Precious had asked me earlier, what, and you have to kind of help me out. I want to say you asked me what happens when things don't go right. What do I
Yeah.
do? Um, I look at it as to date there hasn't been anything that men hasn't gone through since men have been men. So there's a lot of information out there that I can seek that can. So when I simply said I fix it, it's I go and look out there to see what resources I have that I can learn to help fix whatever it is that I can fix, the things that I can control. Stuff that I can't control, it's out of my hands. I don't worry about it.
here's what I have pushback on. So I know you very well. I know you're big about mental health, correct?
Mhm.
So I've been going to therapist and all that stuff. When I started going back to church, I found balance. It helped my mental game more than anything. To Precious' question earlier, why do men don't go to church? I feel it helps you balance. You don't need to go with somebody. Do it for you. And I'm not knocking you for not going. You believe whatever you believe, and I respect that, and you respect me. End of story. But I feel if you did go to church, you'll find better balance in life. And that's my pushback on that.
I disagree.
Well,
And that's
and
fair.
what's interesting is it's not about because I can agree and disagree as well
Mhm.
because it's not about going to church. It's about connecting a spirit to your spirit. And
I
if you
agree
don't
with that.
feel that you have a spirit, then that's something that can't be argued. And there's a lot of people who don't feel that way, and I can understand that. But I guess what I look for in people is spirit. I don't look at their accolades. I don't look at their accomplishment. I don't look at anything. I try and find the spirit and connect with that. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult. So to your point, I don't always in a church find good spirits. And let me rehash that. I look for good spirits because I find a lot of different spirits. I look for good spirits, especially in the industry that I was in. when I found the good spirit, I connected and bonded to it because there was a lot of shallow spirits that was in this entertainment industry that I was dealing with. And so therefore, when I do find good spirits, I connect with them. I don't connect with people because of what they're doing. So to the point is that walking into a church doesn't always suffice that because all churches don't have good spirit, don't have good spiritual leaders, don't have good leaders that have good spirit. So that's why I was able to connect to Daniel. That's why the pastor who got me, who I was saved by, A.R. Bernard, he was able to connect because when I went in there, he said, I don't want you to come here because you're a drug addict, meaning that you was drug in the church by your woman or by your bad circumstance or by, as a child by your parents. I want you to be in here because it's something you were moved or you were connected to through spirit. And that's what helped me embrace religion at that time. Because, like I said, I was very spiritual, but non religious because of the hypocrisy of religion. So, to your point, as far as going to church gives you balance, it only gives you balance if, in fact, uh, there something moves you other than that person per se. I've been in too many churches where I didn't get moved at all. As a matter of fact, I got moved out because I was like, yo, let me get out of here.
But I think it's you know, finding a church is like finding a therapist. You're not going to, you're not going to necessarily like the first one that you join. You do have to, like Sean was saying, find somewhere where you do connect, where they are teaching a solid good word from the Bible. But what I will say is a lot of people are going to church and they're worrying about everybody else but themselves. And I think that's very natural though when you're going to church. I think it takes someone who is literally focused, and he talked about that in that video. You're focusing on the wrong thing. Um when you're focused on you and your relationship with God, you don't care who's in there. You don't care what they're doing. You don't care what they saying. You don't care who they talking about because you're not going there for them. I remember the church when I grew up in. Getting older, my parents told us a lot of things that the people in that church were doing that were not of God. And we just was like, dang, Deacon so and so, like so and so, and dang, for real, like for real, that's what's going on. Now we don't go to that church no more, not because of those reasons. But you have to find your way. And just like you find a therapist, just like you find a barber, just like you find a podiatrist, a dermatologist, all those people that are out here in the world to help you, is the same way people do with churches. Nobody's going to be perfect anywhere you go.
That's a good point, and that's why I emphasize when Hank said the word trust earlier. It's very critical in a lot of different circumstances. Trust in relationships, trust in religion, because trust in your therapist. You have to have a foundation of trust to be able to have any of them be effective.
Mm.
So I can understand those who don't have it because that trust level is something that usually it grows within you, or you're able to identify it, whether it's because of a bad circumstance that help you trust it, because you had experiences. In my case, I had experiences that were testimonials that, man, if I sat here and laid it out, it could be nothing but the Lord, because like I said, with all of my intelligence, brawn, and ability, I tried to do it my way. And if it would have been done my way, the outcome that I actually received wouldn't have been nearly close to that. The miracle, I was like, wow, I see you, Lord, if nothing else. And I can give literally my dog just now last weekend when I had my dog who uterus bursted, I literally prayed on it, right? And all of the places that I went to, the first place I went to denied her. Second place I went to was too expensive for me. Third place I went to took her in, but only were closing. They were emergency, so they closed in the morning, so they couldn't keep her. They said to go to come back and take her to a veterinarian. I said, okay, where's the veterinarian? They said there's one down the street. It's called Affordable Animal Care. You can go there. So we get there to get her, and I say call over there. They call over there. They say, oh, they only take appointments, and they don't have an appointment till tomorrow. Couldn't do that. They said, I said, so what do you suggest? I'm in a foreign area because now I'm way out. And they said, well, go across the street. They'll take you. Trust me, they'll take you. I went across the street, right? And they was like, I don't know why the doctor told you that. We go by appointments, but we'll take her only, but it'll take 3 hours before we could see her because we have appointments ahead of you. But if you go to call this place, they might be able to take you. I call that place. They're like, oh, bring her in. I go in and walk into that place and they're like, oh, they're immediately attentive. Then I said, man, the Lord led me here. And they said, oh, you're giving me chills right now. I said, nah, it's the truth. I just got denied by 2 places. I was frustrated at the second place because I'm holding my dog. She's lethargic, is not moving. They're looking at me and looking at her like, okay, and I'm sitting there. First instinct was to get bothered, but I caught myself and I said, all right, Lord, you know what, let me release it, surrender to the Lord, for surely you know what I know not. And sure enough, they gave me a phone number. I called the phone number immediately. That's like, come on over. I get there and they're immediately attentive. When I start sharing with them, they are like, yo, you're gonna send us chills. Then they gave me a little survey towards the end after they took her in. How did you hear about us? I said, the Lord. They said they gave it to the doctor and the doctor was crying. Now the doctor is religious. I didn't know. On the back of her veterinarian card, it says Joshua 1:9. When I read that verse, it said, I don't want to quote it, but I'll just paraphrase it. You have no worries. Follow me. You have no worries because I'm with you always. And she said the reason why she did that after speaking to her was because she when she was giving up hope to open up the place, the last day she was giving up hope, she went to church and she prayed on it. She said, look, Lord, if you don't want me to have this because we can't afford it or whatever, just let me know. That day they was preaching a sermon over Joshua 1:9. And that was her instant gratification and confirmation that she was supposed to have that place, and she's been there over 20 years. And so everything, her LLC is Joshua 1:9. And
Oh wow.
so me connecting to all of that, I couldn't have told that story. I couldn't have made that story up. I couldn't have prepared for that story that I just shared with y'all. Nonetheless, and to not to mention, they said they gave the prognosis, your dog is very weak. We're letting you know that if we perform surgery on her, she probably will not make it. She has less than a 50% chance of making it through surgery. This is
Mm.
the place that I got to through all of these things that I just shared. And my dog is sitting in front of me right now, a little wobbly, but is sitting alive in front of me right now. So experiences like that help me believe in the Lord. And those testimonies is why I'm such a believer. And I just reflect on them when I'm having concern. And when I have worry, I remind myself with faith, there's no worries. And so I just go right back in and remind myself of those stories, and I have others like it to where you can't sit there and tell me the Lord ain't real. I don't care what position you're in, but I'm not going to sit there and try and make you believe that He is. That's for you to experience. I could share my testimonies. You can believe it or not, but that's why I'm such a believer.
Mm. All righty. So we're gonna go into our final thoughts and wrap it up for this evening. Um, we'll start with Hank. We'll go down to Arpane, Sean, Pete, and then we'll end with King.
Well,
So go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say we're going to do final thoughts on the videos, but you can do a final thought on any video that we showed. We showed the woman who feels always sexy for her man not to text her throughout the day. The man who says that closeness for men may be sex, but for women, it is to know what's going on. We also spoke about a guy who uses alcohol to, deal with things and numb his pain, and then realize that his daughter needed him and he needed to fulfill his promise to her. And then we ended with Daniels talking about offense hindering intimacy and how we need to keep it real with God.
Well, my final thought, I guess, is going to be on uh, the woman saying she doesn't need her man to do all these. I guess make these worry about her like that. Now she's speaking for herself. Most women are not like that. Most women want to hear from their man. So I guess just know who your significant other is. Know what her needs and what her desires is, and try to be sensitive to those things. You know what I'm saying? Try your best to do that, because with you doing that, more than likely she's gonna return the favor.
Mm,
So that's my final thought.
thank you. Thank you. Our pain.
Yeah, I would like to talk about the first one too. Listen, I don't think any woman wants you to. The way she came across is this guy was like just on her, right? Whether he was insecure or not, he was just on her 24/7. Always want to know what she's doing. I disagree with the robot saying that she just wants to be a free woman and have a relationship on the side. That could be true, but nothing that she said, that I think the robot was assuming that's what she wanted. She just might not want her man to nag her, especially when she said that you should be on your grind and you should have some other things that you're interested in other than just me. And I think a lot of women want their men to be able to have something other than focusing 100% on her. Because I don't think any man should do that, right? You should have something that I'm not saying you should have put that above your woman or anything like that. Some things sometimes, depending on where you are, you have to,
Right.
in order for you to get to where you got to go, and then you want to find out whether she wants to be on your plan or not. So if you just calling her all the time, you don't have where you get all this free time from. And everybody, listen, everybody's different, but women have a tendency to get kind of sick of a guy on her all the time, whether she loves you, likes you or not. I don't think that's a good recipe for a long relationship. That's just me. So the whole assertion that she wants to just be free, what she said doesn't show me any proof of that. Just because she wants her man to get off of her all the time, I didn't agree with the robot. Let me just leave
Yeah.
it there.
Definitely should be balanced. Sean.
Okay, well, I kind of touched on each of them um, pretty thoroughly. Like I said, I felt, as opposed to pain, I felt like the robot was dead on. And, of course, anything done in excess is what we discussed. I don't agree with, and that becomes fault, and I understand that. But to King's point that he made, as well as I think a lot of the gentlemen made, is that you have to understand who you're dealing with and have enough grace to ask them what they consider or what they would like you to consider about them, and take that into consideration if you're going to be in a relationship. Because guess what? When you first start a relationship, usually you're on the phone hours at a time with that person, hours at a time, days sometimes at a time. And all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but after a while, you learn not to appreciate that. Well, what I learned through the experience that I just was sharing with y'all is to appreciate everything, to try and appreciate every moment. Because what I do appreciate is that I am not as sensitive. If it was up to me and I didn't connect with my ex, um, my dog would have died in my arms because I don't go to the doctor. So it wasn't my first nature to and bring her to a doctor. And it was suggested of that. That was the first thing of my testimony that I didn't make mention of, is that I really didn't know what to do because I haven't, it wasn't my nature to do so. So again, it wasn't by my design that she's here because if it was up to me, she probably would not be here. And I realize that now. So I am a bit more sensitive. I've been petting, I've been doing things that I don't usually do. And that's what I learned through the experience. So through every experience, when a lesson is revealed, behold, or shall I say, hold the B in front of that lesson. B plus lesson equals blessings. And those are my final thoughts.
Thank you, Pete.
When it comes down to God, people take that as granted. Like, okay, I'll go to church next week. Next week becomes 2 weeks, 3 and 4. Let's go. Don't make excuses. Don't push it off. Let's go. And you're gonna build that relationship. You're gonna find the balance, and you're gonna be a better person because you're gonna feel better for yourself. Forget what everybody else talks about in church. Does everything. Think about you and why you're there for.
Thank you. King?
I've got two things. The first thing was I really liked the video in which the guy talked about how a lady feels close to a man. There's something that I heard from you the first time, Precious, and that was being hot, honest, open, and transparent. I'm going to keep saying that until I'm blue in the face because I can see the value in how the communication is and the closeness is with the lady who I'm talking to now, being honest, being open, being transparent with her so that, she doesn't have to worry about what I'm thinking about, what I'm doing. And I don't have the stress of, trying to be a certain way. I am myself. I am honest with her. I'm open with her. I'm transparent with her. And, how she receives it is, how she receives it. And as long as she receives it well, her and I can rock together. She's hot. I'm hot with her. I can hope, even though I don't like living in hope, but, I can hope that she's hot with me as well. And I definitely rocked with that video. The second thing that I wanted to say, and I'm glad that our pain stayed on. One of the reasons why I like these men's panels is I like having different men from different backgrounds, different cultural experiences from different places come up and talk about this stuff because there are a lot of things that in our lives we've had that are similar. There's a lot of things that are different, but to have people from, our pain's been married almost as long as I've been alive. And initially, when he started talking, which is why I've learned you can't assume some things. Because initially, when he started talking, I was like, man, he's coming from a perspective of like a whole different generation. I don't think that he can understand what this generation is looking at and going through. But then the more he started talking, the more he gave his thoughts. I'm like, man, even though he has been married, he still has uh, um, what I can hear a knowledge for just how humans interact. And then he shared some of his thoughts with that and slowly won me over. I'm like, okay, this is why I don't assume because what our pain came on and shared, in my opinion, brought some value. So I wanted to make sure that I said that to him while he was still on here.
Appreciate it.
Yes, yes. I appreciate and thank all of you guys for always coming on Mondays and giving your perspective so we can gain extra understanding from you guys. Um, my closing words or my final thoughts would be um, make sure you're real with yourself. I always say that. I always say be real with yourself so you can be real with others. But when I say that, I mean even with the things that are going on in your life, whether it be everyday, day to day things, whether it be heavy things that it's like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get myself out of this, or I don't know how I'm going to continue on with this, or what are the next steps. Be real with yourself as far as your self talk, as far as who you have in your corner and who you don't have in your corner. Because a lot of times, again, we talked about church. You don't necessarily have to go to the church. You can go to people who are Christ like who have those qualities that will help you, that will encourage you, and that won't put you further down in that dark hole where you're trying to grab a bottle and numb the pain. um but be real with yourself in those times, because you know, I'm an advocate for the men. I believe that you guys, are great. You're leaders in your own right. You're, great in your own glory. But you sometimes get weak, and you sometimes don't have all the answers, and you sometimes are down on your luck. And so you do need your circle of friends to be able to help you out, be able to encourage you. Maybe these panels help you guys out. I see guys in the chat all the time saying, Precious, thank you so much for having these platforms, having these lives. It does help us. So I appreciate that. I hope it does help you guys. But just be real with yourself and know that, everything that we do is not in our own power. If we knew what tomorrow would bring, if we knew a lot of the troubles that come our way, we would probably go the other way. If I knew that adoption and foster care were in the cards for me, I'd be like, nope, I ain't doing it. But I couldn't avoid it. I couldn't go around it. I couldn't. It was something that was totally out of my control. And so what I had to do, I had to embrace it. I had to, figure out why it happened to me. I had to figure out what I could do with what God gave me. And so everybody's homework tonight is, what are you doing with what God gave you? Are you talking to him about it? Are you being vocal? Are you questioning him? God, are you real? If you're real, show me that you're real. I do want you guys to be covered. You guys aren't the only people that need to be covering. You need to be covered too. And you need people on your team and in your corner that wants you to be covered just as much and just as well as you do the covering. So that's my prayer for you guys, to be covered and to, find that covering or to embrace that covering, but also to question, is God real? Is he who he say he is? Is he doing things in your life where you're like, I don't know, what's going on? Those things that happen in your life is for you to question, is for you to bring up those questions so you can get deeper understanding. That's why I have these panels with you guys. I ask deeper questions to get deeper understanding of the male species. So other people out there can see how you guys are thinking and say, oh, okay, that's why they do that, or that's why they think like that, or that's why, they don't want to, lead in this, or speak up here, or maybe they're a little, apprehensive about this because of this. That's why we have these panels. And honestly, the same way people watching this on here is the same way that I watch church. So hey. But I appreciate you guys. And like I say at the end of every show, be real with yourself so you can be real with others. It's been a great show. You guys have a great Tuesday. Bye bye.